This video is going to be a look at some of the Ravens' coverages against the Bucks in their Week 8 win on Thursday Night Football. Also, a look at how Kyle Hamilton, Pepe Williams, and some of the other Ravens safeties, Geno Stone, Chuck Clark, were deployed. Probably 20, 22 plays overall that I'll show you. Before we get into the film, some interesting stats that I was able to kind of piece together from the charting or game notes that I take, and then the game stats that I found online. So Brady finished 26 of 44 passing, 325 yards and a touchdown officially. So 59% completion percentage, I think, just a little bit above 59%. So looks like kind of a typical Brady game, except the completion percentage is a little bit low. We know there was some inconsistencies with his throws and some of the routes that his receivers ran, specifically two by Mike Evans, that you could see the frustration between those two guys, or the communication trying to get on the same page. But I want to break down some of the throws, some of the stats, Ravens coverage, into two parts. So the last two drives of the game, you can interpret them. We can interpret them however we wish. It's possible to say, oh, Brady figured us out, because he went 12 of 17, which is 70%, with one touchdown, but had another touchdown nullified. Also had a 22-yard completion to Julio Jones on the late hit by Justin Madubuike, whatever you want to call it. So there was some passes in there that were brought back for penalties on the offense or a penalty on the defense, and an incompletion ruling on Jones's catch. The stats could have been even better, I guess is what I'm saying. 12 of 17, 70%, the last two drives where they scored 10 points. After we went ahead, I think 24-13. So prior to those two drives, Brady was 14 of 27. Pretty pedestrian. Pretty close to 50%, right? 14 of 28 would be 50%. I do not think he figured us out. I just don't, and I'm not being disrespectful towards Tom Brady and the Bucks. We played very soft coverages in the last 5 minutes. I thought that was pretty clear, and I'll try to show some of that here in the film. Now, we did not play soft coverages down near the goal line, obviously, and you'll see two examples of that here coming up. One of them really could have finished the game in terms of denying them the opportunity to score more points. Okay, so let's get into some of the film. Some of the coverages are labeled. And I'll explain for you guys, all of that. But Kyle Hamilton, to me, is making a call here to tell the safety that he's going to take this tight end man up at the top side of the screen. We're playing our bracket coverage. So I call it bracket. Really, it should be called funnel. First of all, it's a great play by Kyle Hamilton. The announcers covered it. They motioned to 2x2, and look at the alignment of Pepe and Marcus Peters versus these stacked two. All right. You've got two down here, which is a tight end who's skipping to finish his motion, but they're wider in terms of their alignment from each other. The distance between them, 7-8 yards, something like that. These two guys are stacked. So you got all this stuff that people do, and we run this play where the number two receiver kind of releases on a vertical and then runs, kind of like a post, but the number one goes out and then comes in. All right, so it really challenges your coverage if you're playing man, whether you're playing man or zone. So we play this like bracket funnel coverage is what it should be called, where the slot corner stays inside of an in-breaking route. The corner stays outside of an out-breaking route, and then we're basically just trying to push these guys in toward the safety. Cool coverage that we had not played prior to this year. This is definitely something that showed up with Mike Macdonald. It might be something installed by another coach. It might not be a Mike Macdonald coverage, but I'm just saying we didn't use it under Wink at all. And you can see the way that it works out up top is where, Marcus Peters is the guy who, to me, doesn't seem as smooth with this coverage. A lot of our other guys are a little more smooth with it. They seem to be a little more polished in terms of this I'll call it funnel coverage, basically where you play in 3-over-2. Now, this is a real slow, China in or whip route by Godwin. Down to the bottom side, because those guys weren't so close in terms of their original alignment, because they were, like I said, 7, 8, 9 yards away, we're not playing the funnel down there. So that's just a difference for you to talk about split field coverages. You have a coverage on the top side, which I would call funnel, or a 3-over-2. And then down the bottom side, I think you've got man and you've got man with a safety over top to help. Meanwhile, Patrick Queen is man on the running back. So we're kind of sacrificing the pass rush here a little bit because we're only able to bring 4, but we can kind of match up specific to the side of the field where we think we have a personnel advantage or personnel disadvantage in terms of our guys matching up with theirs. All right, 2x2. This is the failed interception to Chuck Clark. This is not our funnel coverage, but Marcus Peters is doing a nice job of pushing number one, which is Julio Jones, into the safety, which is Chuck Clark. Man, I wish Marcus had, been able to peel away from the sideline a little bit more. So you got man by Hamilton and then man by Peters on Jones, but Peters is pushing Jones into the safety, releases him, and then folds back. Baseball turns back. I just wish he had been able to break here a little bit quicker because Marcus Peters don't drop this. Well, I say that. We try. He actually did drop one down in the end zone earlier in the game. Chuck dropped it once, and then we're unable to corral it the second time, and Kyle Hamilton gets hurt, on that situation. So really bad, unfortunate situation for us down here. It looks like we've got Humphrey on Godwin and Brandon Stephens on Evans. To me, this is a situation where most of these quarterbacks in the NFL are targeting Brandon Stephens. When he's guarding a receiver, the quality of Mike Evans, they're going at him a lot. I really think Brandon Stephens has played better than he gets credit for this season. He did get a pass interference call, against Scotty Miller earlier in this game. All right, so let's rewind a little bit to earlier in the game. So we're now going to get into a progression of the coverages. This is one of the most dangerous formations there is in the NFL, called twin wing, where you've got two receivers down to the bottom side, so two stand-ups, usually your number one and number two receivers in terms of talent, in terms of production, and then you've got two tight ends up to the top side. So you've got a real pass threat to the bottom side, possibility of a run threat to the top side. The back is on the same side. Same side runs are difficult, meaning running the ball to the same side where the running back lines up. We run what in our system we would call boom switch. So we're basically bringing both inside linebackers. We're bringing Queen, and then I think this is Klein is the second one. And we do get to Brady, but it's a hot by the tight end. The tight end, sees the linebacker cross his face on a blitz, sees all the open space, and just sits there. Brady identifies it. Boom. Who's supposed to cover him? Well, it's not necessarily a man concept right here, although it looks like it's man at the bottom of the field. The guy who is really supposed to be there is our outside linebacker from the other side. That's a lot to ask, especially because watch when 47 peels out here. First of all, he's reading pass. Okay, so he's got to get a pass read from this tackle, and then that triggers him to get out here in the drop. If he gets a run read, like let's say this tackle releases outside him to try to reach block him, then he's going to play the run. He's not going to drop back. As he reads pass and drops back, you can see his helmet flash over here to his right, the bottom side of our screen. That's good awareness. He's checking to make sure there's nothing happening over here that he's got to worry about. Unfortunately, we're bringing both inside linebackers, totally vacating a pass zone. It's a zone blitz, in my opinion. But, our zone, sometimes the way the routes work out, it doesn't look like your very clean 3 under, 3 deep coverage, which you'll see on the next play. So, nice job by the Bucs in dealing with our 5-man pressure. All right, another zone blitz, and I think they're going to hit Godwin. It's 20 personnel. Not sure the down and distance, but we'll see it in a moment when we zoom out. It's like 2nd and 1. 20 personnel, so they're kind of manipulating us a little bit, if you ask me, because it's really not a run personnel grouping, even though I would say 41 is a fullback, but it's entirely possible that he's a tight end who plays fullback sometimes. So we're going to run our zone blitz. Queen is blitzing again. And you see this really nice, clean, organized 3 deep, 3 under distribution. That is what I know as a zone blitz. And you may have different experiences, and you can welcome to say it in the comment section, what you would call it. Typically a zone blitz, in my experience, you're bringing a DB as part of the 5-man rush. In this case, we're just bringing Queen is all. So I would still classify it as a zone blitz because it's a 5-man rush. 3 deep, 3 under distribution. And in this case, Harrison sees the little play action fake and is unable to turn quick enough to do anything with Godwin. Brady just drops over the top. Marcus Peters is really aware, just a step slow there getting to Godwin because he sees that number 1 is curling in. He knows he's got no other work because Chuck's going to take it. And just his break here to Godwin is just a little bit slower than it needed to be in order to make a play on Godwin. But not saying that Marcus Peters didn't play well because that's not his route. Now, it would be his route if if Godwin ended up over here, which I would call a climb route at that point, meaning he's climbing from one side of the field to the other and attacking the deep third on the opposite side of the field from where he lined up. I'm not sure our zone blitzes have worked out great this year. You guys let me know in the comment section what you think. Here is actually an example of a climb concept. Brady's in the shotgun now. It's going to be a big gain to Mike Evans over the top. How do they get it accomplished? Climb concept for me is usually a way to attack cover 3. We did it a lot against the Raiders last year. So let me rewind a little bit. The Raiders were a big cover 3 team in 2021 because I think Gus Bradley was their DC. So how do you do it? You run a short route to attack the third defender to this side of the field, whoever your deep third defender is. And I'm not saying that we're exactly playing cover 3 here. And then what you do is someone from the other side of the field runs a climb. Some people call it a deep over, whatever. But you can see this tight end running the out has occupied Marcus Peters. So they've really isolated us here. Chuck is dropping down. Is it a version of cover 3? I guess it's possible. It's a version of cover 3 where we're playing man with Peters on the backside and everybody else is playing cover 3. Watch Chuck. We do this a lot with Chuck. He's lined up in a too-high safety alignment, and then he drops down to take the hook curl drop. It's possible that this is a deep third by Peters, but this is a man call on the backside. Could be, Maryland, Louis, whatever the call is to play man on the backside of a 3-by-1 formation. This is typical. It's not like the Ravens are doing anything wrong. This is exactly what the Raiders did in their cover 3. If you remember last year, Watkins on the deep climb concept early in the game, I think second quarter actually, Lamar hit him for a great 44-yard catch over top of the inside linebacker. Same thing here. Our linebacker just doesn't get enough depth. Chuck can't carry him. Chuck just can't carry him because he's responsible for this area of the field. If you accept that I'm saying this is cover 3 with a man call on the backside, Chuck can't just carry him because now he's vacating this hook curl zone, and you can see that Godwin would be right there. It's just trickle-down effect is really what it is. Patrick Queen and Harrison, neither one of them, they can't just be too deep to play this climb concept or deep over. Some people are going to call it a deep over because then you've got an underneath route. Simultaneous, you've got the out route by the number 1 receiver. So, it's a trickle-down effect for all of our defenders in zone. And there's some times where we're too shallow and there's some times where we're too deep. Got to give credit to the other team sometimes for making plays and site and route adjustments in the middle of the play. All right, this is unfortunate for us that I actually think we're giving this up intentionally. I think we're okay with this. I know that as fans we're not. These slot screens to trips, or if it's empty. So what I mean by empty is, 3 receivers down here and then 2 up top. But that's essentially the same thing here. You've got the running back on the backside, so they can run all this snag flat stuff over there. So they still are able to threaten with 2 routes to this side of the field, whatever the concept is. Over here to the 3 receiver side, we're just getting hit with these screens all year long. The Bills did it, right? The Bengals tried it on the first play of the game, I believe. I think the Bucs actually did it first play of the game Thursday night, but I could be wrong. So let's do the numbers. They've got 1 blocker, 2nd blocker, the guy who's going to get the ball, and then the 4th blocker is in a race with this linebacker. Because at some point it becomes 4-on-3 with our guy chasing, who is the 4th man, and then their ball carrier. It's essentially a drill. Let's just look at it like 3 blockers and a ball carrier versus 3 defenders and a tackler. So it does look like 4-on-4 here, but my point is our 4th guy is getting there a little late because of alignment, and consistently this is what's happening. The guard is able to get to him. Sometimes it's a tackle, and the guy with the ball cuts it back off of that block, kind of like a cutback on a run on the backside of a zone run play. I'm not sure if I said that in a way that makes sense, but there you go. Don't have the end zone angle of this one, so we'll run it 3 or 4 times so you can see it. Am I saying that Klein's doing something wrong? Well, no. I think he's lined up too far inside. But, everything depends on what gap he's responsible for. So his feet right now are inside of this tackle's foot, the left tackle's foot. And watch how they do this. They pass set the tackle to get JPP to start to move upfield, and then it's the guard who releases outside, and he's the guy who ends up blocking Klein. It seems to me that we're okay with this. It really does. It seems to me that the Ravens are okay with this happening 4 or 5 times a game. Maybe 4 or 5 times a game is too many. Maybe that's not how often it's happening, but it seems like it to me as a fan / analyst or whatever you want to call me. I'm going to show you another example here in a moment. This is going to be to the top side. Again, you've got trips 1, 2, 3. And our fourth defender, or the fourth guy who can get there, is going to be Harrison. My bad. I'll draw that up. All right, so you can see how this is developing. There's the slot screen. And again, it's the guard. Right guard 69 goes and gets Harrison. The right tackle is kind of setting, trying to get JPP to come upfield. Now, JPP almost makes a great play because now he's seen it, so he's aware of it. All right, he's a little bit further away from the ball than I thought, but he's at least aware of it as something that can happen. We got to, in my opinion, we do have to do something to kind of mitigate this a little bit. Whenever you have a corner and a safety backside of trips, you are kind of a man down, or I don't want to say man down. You're like a half a man down. So the half a guy who it is either going to be your edge defender or your inside linebacker to that side. I don't know that you have too many other choices. To me, look at Harrison's alignment. He is now aligned to the trips a little bit better than we were on the previous play. So I'm comparing Klein's alignment. I think it's Klein. Okay, I'm comparing Klein's alignment inside the tackle a little bit further away from where the point of attack is than Harrison, who is, here's the right tackle's foot. Harrison is clearly outside of him, if you ask me. We're still not in a great position because the guard is able to get out there. Perryman is able to catch it, and look, they got a hat for a hat here, a hat for a hat here. The guard is on him. And then Chuck Clark, I think it's Chuck Clark, is the guy who's unblocked. Well, again, it cuts back off of the guard's block on the inside linebacker. So again, it's kind of like a cutback on the backside of a zone blocking scheme. What would be the backside tackle, except this is, the front side guard, but it's the same concept, is that he's cutting it back and it creates a real tough angle for Chuck. Well, why isn't there any inside out help here? Running back is to the trips. What's he doing? He's crossing face, trying to hold this inside linebacker, which is Queen. So Queen is not in as good of a position to pursue from the inside out. And there you go. Ends up being like a 16-yard gain, I believe. In my opinion, it's too easy. But it seems as if we're giving this up by alignment. Seems as if we're okay forfeiting these yards for whatever reason. All right, 3-man rush, and we're playing 2-man. So let's focus on Hamilton a little bit. I think he's going to play man on this tight end. And to me, that's where Brady wants to go with the ball. I think Brady throws this one away. I think he knows that it's pretty tight coverage. I don't think he misses this by as far as, that. To be honest with you, I think this is intentional. He sees the coverage. He sees the tight coverage. It says, okay, we'll just live to play another day. You got man here. You got man here. I think this safety's coming down to play that number 2 man, which is actually the running back, so that'd be number 3. Pretty good coverage by Hamilton, who does a nice job on tight ends. He's certainly not the guy that we want guarding little quick slots. We've seen a couple examples this year of him having some trouble with those guys. All right, a drop end. I think it's Owe, but I could be wrong. Yeah, it's Owe. Now, this is a great play by Stonewall. Let it run 2 or 3 times for you guys to see it. He's up at the top side of the screen. This is a 3rd and 4. Midfield, beautiful play to knock the ball out. I mean, this is just what we're going to do. We're going to, Patrick Queen is on the left. It seems like every week I'm talking about this. And he's expected to drop over here to the right on the other side. And then Owe's on the left, and he's expected to drop like on the hash. So those are your 2 hash droppers. Those are your 2 hash defenders. Owe and Queen, who both were lined up on the line of scrimmage. Hey, every team does this. There's not saying that it's not sound, but it seems to me that we forfeit a lot of ground when we do this with Oweh. Although in this case, Stone makes a great play. I think Stone's been playing pretty good. You guys let me know what you think. He seems to be a guy who is taking advantage of the opportunity. And when we get Marcus Williams back, we have Stone, Hamilton, Clark, Stevens, Pepe. And if we do, go get a corner, which you guys have heard me say I think we should, before the trade deadline, I think that'll help. All right, here's Hamilton. I think this is cover 3, but man by Marlon, and he's got a point. He gets a pass breakup. He is beat. Marlon's pissed off at the end of the play. He is correct with what happens here, in my opinion. And this happened like 3 times. Well, why did is Marlon's step suddenly slow? No. Now the video is kind of grainy a little bit, so hopefully you guys can see it. But Mike Evans right now is pushing off. And that's what creates the separation here. Marlon's able to catch up to it. I guess the ball's a little bit underthrown, excuse me. And I think he's got an absolute, argument. It's like the 3rd time that Evans did it in this game, and it wasn't called. I mean, that's a clear push-off. But it doesn't seem like it's getting called. All right, down here to the bottom side, I love how Hamilton is playing this. You've got Bunch, 3 receivers, and he is going to get hands on an outside receiver. He's going to at least redirect him some. And then he's going to push out to the flats. So what I mean when I say cover 3 man is I think you've got cover 3, and then again, on the backside of trips is just a man call. That's typical. Everyone does that, not in every version of cover 3. But that's typical. Usually on the backside, if the back releases out of the backside of trips, then you would get a man play by the outside linebacker or a man run by the inside linebacker, whoever's responsible for him. In this case, he doesn't release to that side. He crosses face, so this is easy in terms of, figuring out the coverage, curl flat, hash dropper. Again, safety dropping down, curl flat, that's your 4 underneath umbrella. And then here's your neat little cover 3 distribution, except with the man leverage on the backside. I think people were critical of Humphrey. I think they were too critical. To me, there was 3 times where Mike Evans did this, twice to him and once to somebody else. Might have been Stevens, but that's a push-off. Are they going to call it? I don't know, but that is a push-off. Like they would call that on the defense, right? If let's switch the roles and say that for whatever reason, as the quarterback throws this is the DB, right? And this is the receiver. Let's just say it was. Let me ask you this way. Do they call that? Yeah, they do. They've called it on us. So cover 3, man on the backside of trips seems to be something that we've seen multiple times. All right, man here, Pepe on Mike Evans. It's a slot fade. And Peters identifies it, just doesn't turn and go quick enough. So it's a slot fade, which is kind of like what people use to defeat almost every coverage, it seems like now. And then a hitch. So essentially it's smash is what it is. And Brady is just attacking Pepe, if you ask me. I think he's looking to the other side. I don't think he has any intention of throwing it over there whatsoever. You do get a hit on Brady. I guess some people would say this is late. It's a switch rush by Queen. And then I think this is Matabike looping around, and he hits him low. Hamilton hit him low earlier in the game, too. They both did. I'm a fan of it. I'm not a fan of like trying to hurt a quarterback, but he's playing football. It's a 3rd down. Brady's backing away. If Brady doesn't back away, is the contact going to be at his waist? I don't know. I still feel like it's going to be a little bit low, but this is just football, man. Even if that happens to Lamar, it's just football. Great catch by Mike Evans, if you ask me. Pepe doesn't have bad coverage, if you ask me. But again, I think Mike Evans has got his hand on him. They're hand fighting. No one gains an advantage from it, even though Mike Evans got a severe height disadvantage. One thing I would want to mention is we've got our Mace Windu, our Guru, our Yoda, whatever you want to call him, up here as a pass rusher, dropping into the flats. I'm just not sure that we're trying to show multiple coverages and being multiple. Both outside linebackers are dropping into the flats here. Houston and Oweh while we I think are rushing 3. I just feel like we lose more than we gain from those situations, but you got to do it some. It seems like we do it a lot. I think this is cover 3 and Houston gets a sack. 2nd and 5 as you saw. Here's Hamilton, bottom side. This is our cover 3 where the safety inserts. Houston gets a sack. Brady seemed to not like our cover 3. I'm not sure why. He seemed to not be expecting it, We got 3 situations where we drop into cover 3. So just to make you understand it, this is a curl flat by Hamilton. He's dropping down to be a hash defender. Queen is the other hash defender. And then I think this is Pepe, the curl flat to that side. So again, your nice little 4 underneath umbrella. And then you end up with, your cover 3 distribution. But you've got 3 over here. So that's why this safety isn't like dead set in the middle of the field. That's not your alignment rule as a free safety. You're not lined up in the middle of the field. You're splitting 2s normally. Normally your alignment rule, at least the ones that I've been taught, is split 2s. So what that means is for the free safety is this is 1, this is 2. Over here to the other side, I'm ignoring this guy because he's number 3. This is 1, this is 2. Normally your alignment rule, let me get these all off the screen, is to split 2s. So there's number 2's feet there. The number 2 on our right, the defense's right, top side of the screen. There's the number 2 on the left. So whatever the distance is between those 2 guys, you're normally going to be, I might be a little off here. He may be shaded a little bit towards the trips, but that's the rule that we've given our kids at free safety is to split 2s. Be halfway between the number 2 receivers from one side to the other in terms of your alignment. So that's why I think that he's to that side. Now, it is a sack, but let's talk about how we play cover 3. Remember, we're talking about and we're complaining about the outside linebackers dropping. I got a little bit of an issue with it. Well, what's my issue? I want safeties playing the flat. I want safeties playing curl flat because they can do things like this. This tight end's running what I would call a climb route. All right? Presumably you're going to get something down here that holds this corner and allows this route to come open by keeping this corner here dealing with, a deep out. Whatever it is, that's the climb concept. We talked about it earlier, right? Well, to me, when you have a safety playing curl flat, when you have a safety playing the flats, he is able to do this. Take off and run because he has that awareness level. And he has that range. An outside linebacker, if Brady has the time to throw that, is that route possibly going to be there? Maybe it is, but Peters is not playing man here. He's actually playing cover 3 on the backside of trips. He's not playing man, so that's why he's not down here. You would say, oh, there's a lot of separation. He's playing cover 3. He's playing legit cover 3. So this route, if it is thrown, he may have time to go ahead and recover on. But he can't conceivably cover that route and this route, okay? Weak, and it's especially if you have an outside linebacker here who can't play a role in doing this. Now, is that what Kyle Hamilton's job is in this coverage? No. The backside, the single receiver side curl flat defender is not responsible for 3 vertical in most versions of cover 3 because he could get the running back out of the backfield, right? You could get the same exact routes that I just drew like that. There is no way that Kyle Hamilton is going to help with this route here, right? He's going to be probably dealing with this route here, okay? But once number 2 to his side disappears, now he's got to look for work, and he does. Justin Houston and Odafe Oweh are not going to do that. That's my complaint with us constantly dropping those guys in coverage is that 2.5 seconds after the ball snap, they're not able to adjust and play like a safety, like a Kyle Hamilton or a Pepe Williams is able to do. A zone blitz, cool stuff if you ask me. Bring in Hamilton, bring in Pepe. It actually ends up being a sack. The all-22 camera guy, didn't know that. He thought the ball was going to be thrown. And it looks like they're trying to set up a double move here. Brady, for like multiple times this game, didn't throw right as he was going to get hit for whatever reason. Peters has got the deep over route developing to him and a vertical. This is another zone blitz. Okay, so Peters is being put in conflict here because it's 3 deep. There's your corner. He's a deep third defender. Off screen here is a free safety. You'll see him in a moment. And then there is Peters. So that's your 3 deep. And then here's your 3 under with your 5 rushers. But because Brady is so immobile, we can bring 5 from an unbalanced rush, meaning we're not bringing anybody here. We're trying to force him to move to his right for whatever reason. They are trying to put Peters in conflict with the deep over by, I think, Godwin. And then a little bit of a double move vertical by Evans. And again, Brady's in the middle of his throwing motion here, but he doesn't like what he sees. I think because Peters has made it look like he's going to take the vertical. Like here, as Brady is starting his throwing motion. And then Peters at the last second is going to make it look like he's going to take this deep over route. So that's one of the things people talk bad about Marcus Peters because he's coming off an injury. He's older. He's had some DPIs this year. Cool, whatever. This is a veteran move. This ball gets completed against a lot of other corners on this route right here. And in fact, this is a very similar concept to Miami's touchdown when Kyle Hamilton was playing middle of the field free safety and Peters was playing corner on our left against, I think, Tyreek Hill. One of the early touchdowns up the right side to Tyreek Hill. I'm sorry, one of the early touchdowns in their comeback. It was late in the game. Another example of a funnel coverage because you've got stacked 2s. We'll let this run 2 or 3 times. And we're able to get at Brady. I don't know how this is an intentional grounding. I mean, or whatever they call it on Lamar later. You know, the line of scrimmage is the 29. There's pressure. Guys are attacking. Oweh can't finish it. But Oweh had a great move there, and the ball doesn't get back to the line of scrimmage. Let's check out Oweh for a minute, then we'll talk about the coverages. This is one that I think someone on Twitter shared a video of him doing 2 spin moves on Wirfs, who's, apparently playing at a pretty high level. I mean, that's pretty sick. Oweh's stiff. He can't finish plays, all these things that people say. That's a pretty sick move. If he doesn't get off of Wirfs there, yeah, we do have another D tackle who's creating pressure, but to me, Oweh is the guy who creates the most of the pressure against Brady. Again, I don't know how the ball bounces there. I don't know how that's not intentional grounding. I don't know who he's throwing the football to. Let's put it that way. And then we'll talk about the coverage. So cool move by Oweh. All right, so funnel coverage. You got stacked twins, so 2 that are all stacked on each other, 2 that are stacked on each other. So the inside guys is Humphrey and Hamilton. They're funneling the guy in. The outside guys are Peters, and I think that's Stevens. They're funneling the guys in. I misspoke a moment ago. Hamilton and Humphrey is funneling the guys out. And who are they funneling them to? They're trying to funnel 2 receivers to the safety. Middle of the field, you got Queen on the running back. Teams can't play this coverage against Lamar Jackson. Let's go extreme. Teams can't play this coverage against Jalen Hurts. They can't play this coverage against Josh Allen, because why? Well, running back runs into the flats. You get this cool little coverage that prevents the ball being thrown to either one of these guys. Great. Now you got a ton of room for, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts to go through there. When Ray Lewis in 2012 said, we'd rather play against Tom Brady than Colin Kaepernick, it might not have been 2012. When he said that, people got offended. They thought he was just talking dumb. No, he meant it, and he was right. It doesn't mean that Brady can't beat you. It just means that there's certain coverages you can play against Tom Brady that you can't play against Colin Kaepernick, Josh Allen, whoever the quarterback is that's mobile. This is a 3rd and 6. This is an example or an illustration of what Ray was saying, and I think it got misconstrued because, all the things associated with Tom Brady and Colin Kaepernick. I think he was comparing Brady to Kaepernick prior to the Super Bowl, but I could be wrong. I don't think that, to be honest with you, I'm not sure that Peters is playing this funnel coverage great as compared to other guys. There's times where he's a little bit confused, and you can see him and Humphrey are trying to figure out who to take the underneath route. Well, I mean, Godwin broke out. That's you, Marcus. That's your guy. Godwin broke out. We're not going to ask Marlon to play that. That should be Peters there. And they get just a little mixed up for a moment. You can see them bouncing back and forth, trying to figure out who should take the guy. So if you're a Bucks fan or some Patriots fan, old Patriots fan, whatever, I'm certainly not talking bad about Tom Brady. I'm just saying there's certain coverages you can play against him that you can't play against other guys because of their ability to scramble, because of their ability to move. All right, a version of cover 3 where Pepe gives a great effort up top. I think this is one where Brady is thinking that Evans is going to sit this down, but they're trying to run kind of like a sail concept where you get a vertical by 1, and then 2, which is Evans, goes, kind of like this. But sometimes, you got to adjust your route. I think Brady reads that, throws it over top of JPP, but Evans doesn't sit down on it. I think Evans thinks the ball is going to be thrown more toward the sideline because he reads cover 3. I get it. In cover 3, this vertical should carry the corner, which is Humphrey. But again, you have a safety playing curl flat. Watch Pepe's drop. I'm attributing some of this to Pepe. Let's say we were doing something crazy where we were blitzing this guy and our outside linebacker was dropping to the flat. I'm talking about depth of pass drop. This video is going long. I'm sorry. But Pepe, to me, plays a little bit of a role in this because look at his depth. Compare his depth to JPP's. I'm not talking bad about JPP. He's not designed to do this. This is a 3rd and 3, I believe, 3rd and 2. Pepe is a safety. He is suited physically and based on the training he's had for years in football, he's suited to get depth and then be able to make breaks in or make breaks out, or even as a safety with his background, be able to get vertical. JPP's not. Justin Houston's not. Odafe Oweh's not. To me, this is cover 3, even though it doesn't look like it to you. And we've got a really deep pass drop by Pepe Williams because he's a safety. Because he recognizes, I got no work in front of me right now. There must be a reason why. All right, last play, because I didn't intend for this to be a 40-minute video. Quarter, half, which myself and a lot of other people sometimes mistake for like cover 3. You can kind of see that it's not when you end up with, one safety staggered down to a particular level and then another guy, me personally, at least what I was taught, is that the half defender is the guy who's deeper. All right, he's the half defender. I think that's Chuck. And then down here, I think you've got quarter and then quarter. Some people call it cover 6, whatever you want to call it. It's just 3 guys responsible for the deep portion of the field, but it's not cover 3. It's not splitting the field in thirds. And I think you get a pass deflected. Talking about Hamilton here because he's an underneath dropper. I love having Hamilton as a second-level defender. I think his future is to be a multiple safety, but to me, he's got really good instincts. This is a levels concept, in my opinion. So number 1 is running this under. Number 2, they were kind of stacked, is running a delayed kind of dig. So I call it levels when you got 2 in-breaking routes at different levels. Hamilton sees this route breaking under. But watch what he doesn't do. He doesn't take off running behind it. Why? He understands that there's a second route developing behind him. I think he's got great instincts. And I think we're starting to see a little bit more examples of that. We're not seeing interceptions. We're not seeing passes you saw the pass defended earlier in this video. I think he's got he's got a trained and natural understanding of routes and how they are utilized to manipulate defenders. And because of that, he's just letting this route pass through to the other second-level defender, which is Klein, who I thought played pretty well. I thought he played decent. And understanding, I've just got to be in the window of this other in-breaking route. Now, having said that, is Brady throwing the ball to this guy? Yes, he is. I think Klein's a little too far in this direction for real. And Klein should be a little bit closer to the hash. And he kind of even understands that. Watch Klein get some width and then level himself back off, square up, staying on the inside hip of the closest route to him. I think he's about 2 yards too wide. Am I saying if he plays it a little better that he's going to be there to knock away this route if the ball is able to get past our D-line? No, I think it could be a completion, but the larger point for me is Hamilton doesn't just chase things and then leave open a deeper in breaking route, right around here towards the 50, which to me is what the read is for Brady. I think it's a levels concept. We caught him a little. These cover 3 and quarter half coverages, I thought gave him a little bit of issue. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure what he was looking for. Did we show different things coverage-wise than we normally do? I'm not sure. But I like quarter half. I don't know about you. We end up with, 4 defenders over 3 routes, and then we end up with 3 defenders over 2 routes. I think originally the quarter half was basically going to be our funnel coverage. Why is it our funnel? Because it's stacked 2. So I've talked about it a couple times in the video, whereby I think Hamilton is just going to force everybody in, and Peters is going to force everybody out, try to funnel them to the safety. And in this case, the outside receiver cuts in. So Hamilton's reading the inside guy. That's the guy he's trying to funnel. Well, once he goes that way, Hamilton's like, okay, I funneled him. Now it's the number 2 receiver who's running. And is it possible that at this point we should just lock up man? Yes, that is possible. All right. I don't know the call. I don't know. I know what the original alignment was, what the original coverage looks like to me. Funnel. All right. I call it funnel. Other people may have different half field coverages for it. So you can see this another very clear example of us playing one coverage to this side of the field. I call it funnel. They could have 3 different names for it, all right? They could have a color, they could have a name, whatever. And then down here, I think you've got quarters in terms of responsibility of these guys, but not a true quarters read. So why am I belaboring this point a little bit? It's possible that Hamilton and Peters should just lock up man here. That is possible. I have no way of knowing. It looks to me like Hamilton is reacting like a zone. You generally don't want to get man calls over here and zone calls over here consistently, especially against somebody like Brady, because you can get manipulated. But I like what we're doing with our half field coverage stuff. Is it working all the time? No. I believe we did throw Brady off a little bit with some of these coverages. If we were to face him again next week or 2 weeks from now or 2 months from now, is it possible that he would be more ready for him? Absolutely. I think we pulled a little bit of a fast one with some of our cover 3. I think we pulled a little bit of our fast one with our funnel coverage and kind of caught them by surprise. Let me know what you think of the Ravens' coverages. I know that it wasn't really focused on Kyle Hamilton and Pepe Williams the whole time, but I tried to show you some of the things I think they do well, the multiple techniques they're asked to execute, and how I think they played a big role in the defense the quality of defense the Ravens were able to play for 55 minutes on Thursday night. And just to be clear, I do not think that we suddenly got figured out in the last 5 minutes. I think we intentionally played softer coverages to let the clock run. And that's why Brady was 12 of 17 passing in the last 5 minutes after being 14 of 27 in the first 55. I think our guys did a nice job. Let me know if you agree or disagree in the comment section.